Hey, Nick, do you like Tiptoeing Through Tulips?
I like Tiny Tim.
Do you like Tiptoeing?
God bless Tiny Tim. That's
God
one of the
bless
best
us,
albums
everyone.
ever. It is.
Do you like to tiptoe through the tulips?
Yeah, and I also like to dive straight in. Hey guys, it's your favorite final boy and girl, Emily and Nick, boy, and your favorite final babysitter, Mike, coming at you with a new episode of Gag Me with a Knife, a weekly podcast where we dissect, disembowel, and shred the best and worst slasher movies. This is another Friday Patreon fan requested episode for our Patreon, Christy. She has requested us to do an episode on 1987's Blood Harvest, also known as Texas Clownsaw Massacre. Emily's got a VHS box, so go on, girl.
Blood Harvest is set in a once prosperous Midwestern farming community. Now hard times force the bank to foreclose on the farmers. Mr. Robinson, the bank supervisor, becomes the target of the town's hatred. Into this emotional hotbed comes the Robinsons' beautiful young daughter, Jill.
Beautiful.
Played by Iona, who just happens to have the best body this reviewer has seen for some time.
Yeah.
It's on the back of the box. Okay.
Mike, did you write this?
Wait, it says that?
No.
I thought you were talking about me.
Yeah.
This is from 1988, like VHS.
87.
The back, or 1987. No, but this is an 88 VHS, like back of a VHS.
Yeah.
Now we're cooking. As Jill returns home, her parents go missing. To console her, she has an ex-boyfriend, Gary, played by Dean West. There's also Gary's crazy brother, Marvelous Mervo, played by Tiny Tim, creepy enough without the makeup. Mervo has been driven mad by the unsolved murder of his own parents. Dressed up permanently as a clown and singing a falsetto.
It's Tiny Tim.
Pagliacci. Falsetto to fit Pagliacci. Mervo must be the #1 ding-dong in anyone's book.
Hey, don't talk about Tiny Tim like that.
Somebody at the door?
The farmhouse becomes a slaughterhouse as one by one those closest to Jill die like cattle. More like pigs, but not for the squeamish. Don't miss the surprise ending. 1988, your thoughts?
Tiptoe through the tulips with me.
Yeah, I wonder what the outro music for this will be.
I hope it's the last song.
Dude, no. It has to be I Got You, Babe by Tiny Tim.
No, it's
No, the
me.
last-
Oh, shit.
The last song during the credits is the Marvelous Mervo song.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not. I've already sent it. It's Tiny Tim. They're tulips. So,
I'm saying the movie has Tiny Tim singing a
My
song
thoughts on it
specifically for the film.
I fucking love Tiny Tim, and I
thought he was good in it, honestly.
I love Jill.
Yeah,
I know that.
I thought it was a standard run-of-the-mill slasher, but with Tiny Tim as a clown. Proto-Juggalo.
I liked it okay. I thought there was a lot of stupidity and not good camaraderie, like and this is a little bit...
Pacing's bad.
The
pacing
score is bad.
The score was terrible.
The score is
The score was one of the worst I've ever heard.
Tiny Tim actually performing on set or whatever is probably the best part of the score.
Yeah, I'm not talking about Tim's
I know what you mean.
contributions.
But
I'm saying
Tim's
they'd be walking through the field,
yeah.
frolicking through the field and be soaring cheesiness.
I don't know. I very much love Tiny Tim. And
I love this movie.
It's pretty good. It's okay. Yeah. So, Mike...
Get us started. Yeah, I thought it was okay. I thought the pacing was awful. And honestly, the first two deaths, I usually do the times on them. I didn't really realize they had happened. So, I didn't write down when they happened. I only got to when, then I got confused because Scott gets hit, and then it comes back to him. So, anyway.
Yeah. Well, we start out with Tiny Tim as Marvelous Mervo.
Oh, yeah, very abruptly. The movie starts very abruptly. It just kind of is Tiny Tim, here you are.
He's singing Gary and Jill, which is his take on Jack and Jill, which is a rhyme, but he's, of course, singing it. And we figure out that Gary and Jill are his brother and our main actress. And we see a businessman hanging by his feet, like trussed up like a pig. And then we also see what turns out to be different people, but like a kind of a flashback in hindsight of somebody putting a dead body into the back of an ambulance as a man is watching sadly. And that man is Gary.
FYI. It was him and Tiny Tim's, Mervo. It's their parents.
Merv is his name. Mervo is his clown name.
Mervin is his name.
But his parents, quote unquote, killed themselves, and that's what it's flashing back to.
That's what we're seeing.
Too.
But at the time when we see it, we don't know that.
Yeah, wouldn't you? That was.
Then we see Tiny Tim being really sad at a rural auction. And we find out through radio and TV and blah, 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 that this town, this farming town, has been ripped apart by foreclosures and the dying of their agricultural industry.
Yeah, and I wrote, this girl walking too long.
My own words.
Fucking kicking leaves.
Oh, but
walking around like she's kicking leaves.
It does cut back to that trussed up businessman.
With his stupid voiceover.
His throat is sliced like a pig.
Is that, okay, so is that her dad?
That's her dad.
Okay, so her dad. Okay, so Jill's dad dies. Jill's dad and mom die pretty much almost immediately.
I don't know. At first, it's like, oh, there's the guy hanging up. Right? Is he the one they're putting into the ambulance? It's confusing at first.
Okay. So both of her parents get hung upside down and their throats slit pretty early in the movie. Like it's both of her parents.
But you'll just see it like spliced in between.
That's why I got confused.
Scenes.
Okay, so 1 and 2, deaths 1 and 2 are like pretty much done within like the first 3 minutes of the movie.
So yeah, Jill's walking. We hear like
kicking
the voiceover
leaves.
of her part of a phone call. Where she's telling her mom that she's coming home
what a dumb
school.
voiceover. That also confused me.
I think they were like, oh, wait, stuff doesn't make sense. Let's fit this in there. And it'll kind of explain what's going on. So she's coming home from college, but she can't find her parents. She goes by...
Where are Jill's parents? Are they at a meeting? Do I care?
Her dad worked for a bank. She goes to the bank. The receptionist has not seen them. So she goes to Ollie and Goldie's restaurant where her friend, who is also... pretty. Sarah is working.
I wrote, I hate this music at this.
That's Ollie and Goldie's restaurant.
Also, shut down the auctioneer. Farms forever. Mobs hate Robinson.
And we just see a house in the background.
Didn't they talk about mobs hating like her dad?
Mobs of angry farmers, not the mob.
Well, whatever.
Yeah. So we see a house that has like scum, bastard, and thief written in red, like graffiti. And Tiny Tim's watching TV, and there's more information about the foreclosures and stuff.
When does she say muscles in all the right places?
Is this when Tiny Tim's like sitting there, like holding his hands over his face?
That's at the auction.
Oh, okay.
But now he's back at home.
Okay, before that,
there's a scene where it looks like the Leatherface thing when Leatherface is like freaking out, but like Tiny Tim's doing his best Leatherface.
Yeah, I think that's because his.
Before that, when they're still at the auction, or I think like they're still near the auction, there was this cool dude
near the auction
spitting on the ground next to Jill.
No, she's at the restaurant talking to Sarah.
Oh, okay, and then someone said she was guilty by association. So then
her dad works at a bank. And he's the one doing all these foreclosures because, as Jill says,
they painted on her house like "Get out, bastard!"
Scum, thief.
And then there was I was like, "Lol, this music, it's awful." And the fake, it's awful. Then there was a fake dead scarecrow hanging.
Wait, that's a pretty good effect, even though it's like fake.
Okay.
Sarah gives her a ride home after the cowboy guy spits at her.
Sarah's pretty hot.
Yeah, Sarah's hot.
Yeah.
Sarah's hotter than Jill, in my opinion.
No.
She's got it going on.
So she sees graffiti and she runs, and her tits are bouncing. I've got down bouncy run exclamation point right now.
Easy boy.
Yeah, she opens the front door, and she sees a hanging scarecrow and just starts screaming.
Just let him go.
And then she's inside.
A 5.
And Merv pops out. Merv pops out and scares her and tries to give her flowers.
Maybe in Knoxville she'd be like a 9.
Stop it with it.
Sorry.
So yeah, Merv is inside of her house, and Gary is also there, and he steps in and is like,
more stupid music.
More stupid music.
She takes her shoes off. Also, when she takes her shoes off, did you notice it took her like a full minute to take her shoes off? Why?
You're like, keep getting like a minute and a half of this. She can't find her parents. Her parents aren't at home. So, yeah. Somebody calls and says, "Fuck you, bitch."
Yeah,
and
so Saved by the Bell, but not really, because she says, "Fuck you, bitch." The bricks are through the window.
No. The funniest thing about this is the phone rings. She picks it up. She doesn't say hello, and immediately somebody just goes, "Fuck you, bitch." And
there's not a payphone outside of her house. It couldn't have been the same person calling.
This shit is, I don't know. Like they could have, like she could have answered immediately without saying anything. They'd just been like, "D's nuts." The fucking
the Pretty in Pink fake out video.
It's the same fucking thing. It's like
I can see Ian Lawrence calling people. Sorry, Ian, calling people and going, D's nuts, and hanging up.
Yeah,
you know he would.
But I mean, that's how that happens. She just runs to the phone when it's ringing. It rings like 3 times. She picks it up like a normal person, and somebody goes, "Fuck you, bitch!" Clunk.
And then the brick comes immediately.
Do you know we could probably get Mike right now to call 3 people, do that, and hang up.
I'm sure 3 people are calling him right now off the
That'd be kind of rude.
Well, you could use star 69.
Speaking of, I need to
star
turn the phone off.
Or whatever.
Ling, ling, ling. So she goes out. She calls the cops, but she's also. No. She does not call the cops.
She doesn't.
She's like, I'm gonna walk.
There's a tedious.
Why wouldn't you call the cops here? I'm gonna walk to town to see the cops.
Yeah. She says there's this. Before that, she's like, there's a tedious chase or something, and then she's shot by paintball.
Yeah, we see Merv's in the barn.
But after that. That's when she said she was gonna walk into town, and I was like,
she starts walking, but somebody's like walking behind her, so she starts running. And she gets hit in the face with a red paintball, which would really fucking hurt.
Yeah,
she's like acting like nothing happens.
But when she tells them that she was going to walk into town, they laugh at her like it's the funniest thing they've ever heard in their life.
So it must be
she's
a little
stand-up comedian.
And I noticed the truck that the guy's driving has he's flying Dixie on his license plate.
And
it was like a Confederate flag.
She sees some dude, and he says something to her, and she's like, "I'm engaged." And he goes, "How about some meaningless sex?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "This dude rules."
The guy that gave her a ride.
I did write that down. How about some meaningless sex?
I was like, "You rule,
dude.
bro."
So she goes to see the sheriff.
At least he's honest.
True.
She goes to see the sheriff, and he's dressed up for a softball game.
Sheriff softball sucks.
So he's like,
he's always got to play softball, go play poker.
He's got to do anything except
sheriff. He always says something better to do.
Well, it's a boring town aside from all the foreclosure riots.
At this point, I also was
about
like,
a poker game later.
I was like, why do we have no clue who anyone is at this point? It's like 13 minutes in, but
he's got a cute sign in his office to say it's like a gun, gunslinger.
It says another day shot to hell.
Another day shot to hell.
But I was like, why is the sheriff looking like a workout guy, like Ronnie in Sleepaway Camp? And also, Jill is a bitch. She can't find her parents. She also talked about the brick twice, by the way.
Well, it's scary.
She said it twice. She said it because she fucked up her lines. By the way, that attitude...
Jill never would.
And I said that attitude wouldn't make me want to miss my softball game to help Jill either, by the way.
Jill, you're perfect.
You know what? You get more... You attract more bees with honey.
Flies with honey
or
than vinegar.
Whatever it is.
Than vinegar.
So she might not want to be a fucking cunt to the sheriff. And maybe he would have helped her.
I thought there was going to be a boy who called wolf situation. But we'll get to that.
It's cried wolf.
Oh, cried. I always mess it up.
He always thinks like the boy who whispered wolf or yelled it.
Wolf. The boy who said wolf.
The boy who said it one time.
So we see Merv going into some weird looking... It looks like an earthwork. That's what I wrote down. It looks like an Etruscan tomb.
He's got someone locked up.
He doesn't. We don't know this at the time, but he's talking to a lady, and it turns out that it is Jill's mom. She's tied up, but he's being really nice to her, asking if she's hungry.
Oh, I thought she was already dead.
No, she's moving.
Not yet. They left that part out of the movie.
They left it out completely, so we don't even know when she dies?
Yeah. No, but she's definitely hanging up at the end.
Okay. I know she's hanging up at the end.
So When the sheriff and Jill get to the house, the graffiti's been painted over. The dummy is not there. The window is fixed.
Yeah.
All things that could not have happened in this hour.
And
that
then
she was
he
gone.
goes, "Don't call me, I'll call you."
Yeah, he's like, I'm going to make it to the last inning of my softball game. We cut to Tiny Tim singing.
He's in church in full costume.
He's singing Rock of Ages by himself in church. It's a pretty church.
It cuts back to Jill, and there's a
It's
cat.
a clown
And there's a
confessional.
cat
There's a cat trope.
Cat jump scare.
Cat trope.
Gotta have it. This also has a full moon. Cat jump scares and full moons, I feel
And
like, are
Gary
in more horror movies than
Oh,
blood.
yeah, I know. Gary shows up. That's Tiny Tim's brother, also Jill's ex-boyfriend.
And they go
And
for
she's
a
like-
frolic.
She's like, someone's-
Let's not say ex-boyfriend. Let's say like
No,
ex,
she-
like childhood crush.
No,
their dad
he
caught
was
him
her
fucking.
ex. He was her ex, yeah.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Dad
And
caught him fucking in the
yeah.
treehouse.
So
Oh.
she's
Or
like,
maybe
Yeah.
just kissing.
she's like, someone
I
is
thought
trying.
it was smooching.
Someone's trying to frighten me, and I'm like, I think it's a little more than that, but okay. And then you find out that Gary's the one that came and cleaned everything up. He's the one that
Yes.
painted it over, like in a fucking 30 minutes or something. Came and painted the house, fixed a window, and got rid of this fucking scarecrow.
Gary's a
and...
weirdo handyman.
We cut back to the church and
No, after that it cut. Oh no, you do go back to the church because after that was like that metal. When it shows that treehouse, I was like, "What the fuck is this place?"
I have pretty copious notes, so.
They don't need to be copious.
But yeah, the priest comes up to
At
Merv
all.
and is like, "Can I help you, son?" And fucking Merv just bolts.
Yeah, he's
So they go back to the treehouse. They're kind of. It seems like they're about to make out, but they talk about the fact that was just mentioned. Remember that time, your
Caught
dad
us,
caught us
I
yeah.
thought they
here?
were smooching.
I was like, look, our shitty metal treehouse is still here. We just now figured it out.
And
Like
then-
they acted like they hadn't seen it.
Gary's
in
kind of giving
years.
his sob story about his parents hanging themselves and how everything has been fucked up. And that's when she drops the bomb that she's engaged.
She's engaged. Sorry, Gary. Bye,
And
Gary.
He immediately.
Man, yeah, she
Yeah.
went away to college, and yeah, fuck you, dude.
Merv is still singing Gary and Jill went up the hill.
I wrote Gary always breaks his crown.
Aww.
Tiny Tim is doing whatever. And that's
He's-
what I wrote. I don't
Gary
know.
and Jill went up the hill.
Thank God you're here, Merv. Jill will make herself at home and trust Tiny Tim with
Yeah.
coffee.
And there's some ridiculous voiceover while they're frolicking.
Well, no,
again.
no, no. Tiny Tim makes the fucking cup of coffee, and then he does. Well,
does.
first of all, he makes it
Wait,
in
we
record
are
time.
not there yet.
And then he,
Yes,
Hey,
we
hey.
are. Yes, we are. Yes,
Wait,
we are.
No, because
yes,
they
we
have
are.
pegs on the
Because
phone.
there,
She
there,
gets in the. You're skipping the
that's-
titties.
it
You're
does-
skipping the bush. No.
Oh, yeah,
There's a
full
shower
frontal.
scene.
No,
Full frontal.
I have tits written down later.
no. We got them written down
Dude.
now.
Can't, like.
Okay, yeah, let's
No,
go
she's
through
on the
every fucking plot point and it'll be an hour and a half.
No. It's just the tits.
Okay.
This is
so
not a plot point.
She takes
Move
a
it
shower,
along.
and then there's
Move
a
it
gloved.
along.
It is
There's
for
a
me and
gloved
Mike.
hand.
I wrote it in here.
We did too.
Dude. Okay.
All right, get to it, Mike. Let's hear it.
So
Tits.
yeah, somebody's fucking with the water.
We're gonna get to see him again.
Merv,
Yeah, we do.
Merv is lurking around. Yeah, he makes her coffee. I'm sorry, I just wanted to mention the tits. It's my job to lead us through this stuff.
There is
And
weird
he
camera
says
work
this weird
here.
shit about I'm a tree and all the birdies sit on me. And he kind of grabs her tit and she's like, "No, Merv, get out of here." We see a weird noose with an empty chair. And she's like laying, it cuts back to her and she's like laying in bed and the book she's reading is obviously like water damaged. It's like
When
something
it-
we wouldn't take in the case.
There is cool camera work kind of in this in the
Yeah.
scene with the Merv. Usually when he's around, it does that like sideways camera kind
There's
of
like
thing.
good shadow work in this movie.
Yeah, shadow sex. But I was like, is Merv trying to kiss Jill? Can he make
Shadow
himself
sex, I
happy?
forgot
Do I
about that.
care? And then I guess she sees somebody on a swing.
Yeah, well, she hears it, and I thought it was somebody screaming, but
I
she
thought it
gets
was
up and
Tiny
looks.
Tim when I fucking just looked.
She looks,
She's
and
got
there
the
is
same
somebody there.
voice.
So
It's not hard.
she's calling Wolf again. She calls the sheriff.
Crying.
Oh shit! And
Calling
the
Wolf.
sheriff is like, he's got a deck of
1-800
cards.
Wolf.
He doesn't know Hansel and Gretel. He doesn't know the boy who cried wolf.
Yeah, they had cell phones, not breadcrumbs. Call Wolf.
Come on.
He said in the mutilator that
Wait, that was a witch in Hansel
He
and
said in the
Gretel.
mutilator that
There's
was
a crumb,
that it was
breadcrumbs.
clothes were like Hansel and Gretel, and you're like, what the
breadcrumbs.
fuck are you talking about?
You know what I'm talking about. So the sheriff gets the call. He's playing with some cards. And he throws the cards, and he's like, there goes the damn poker game.
Yep.
So then Scott calls
Sheriff
her.
Softball has a poker game instead of sheriff.
I said, cool, yeah, call the sheriff. And now his poker game's ruined.
No, don't call the sheriff. Fuck
That's
this
what
guy.
I was saying.
He's good for nothing.
Actually, not fuck this guy because he can't help because honestly, it isn't his fault that they got cleaned up.
It isn't his. Everything's his fault. Okay.
But thank goodness Scott called.
Scott calls, and while she's on the phone,
that is Jill's fiance.
Yeah. The swing, so she's on the phone. The swing stops, and she's like, "Oh shit!" And she hears a creak on the porch. It's the sheriff.
He says it's okay. He can. Before that, though, his Scott's on the phone. He's like, "It's okay. I can talk you through this."
Yeah, you know,
okay, you're gonna talk him through that.
I think I know what he means.
Have you tried turning it off and turning it back on again?
Are you jerking it?
Mervo.
So it's Mervo. The sheriff's got Merv. That's when we see the full moon, and she goes to sleep. And while she's asleep, she went to sleep with all the lights on. The lights go out in the house, so somebody turn off the power. There's an intruder. I think he comes through the tits. Well, there's multiple tits. So she's in bed. He chloroforms her. And then exposes her breasts, binds her hands, and starts taking Polaroids.
Before that, Scott's there.
No. Scott shows up in the morning. There are 2 times where she is chloroformed in this movie. We both watched the same version. So, yeah.
Okay.
He takes pictures of her, and it's a Polaroid camera, but the pictures don't look like Polaroids. They don't have that white bottom.
I knew who the killer was.
And so the lights come back on.
I knew. Yeah, I knew.
And we see the killer taping photos to the wall. It's like
also, when it shows the killer, it's like a guy in a stocking, and it clearly isn't Tiny Tim.
It's Gary.
So it's Gary.
It's Gary,
I mean,
yeah.
So in the morning, Scott shows up scaring her. He kisses her while she's asleep.
But she makes him chase her, which is very cute and romantic. Not.
And then they make out on the living room floor.
Okay, so there's another thing
this
I've been
is where
noticing.
we see your tits.
There's a lot of people fucking in living rooms
Beautiful,
when anyone could
tits.
come in at any time.
Or parents are missing.
Because Gary's outside and they're having this weird rug sex.
You got to think that Jill is expecting her parents at any time because they've been missing.
She's not at there. She is still at her house at this point.
So Gary sees this car. He's outside. He sees Scott's car.
Your folks ain't calling, girl.
Yeah.
But that's because she's getting a phone call. But it's Sarah. But anyway, yeah, they have weird rug sex.
He checks out. Gary checks out the car and then is peeping in on them.
Oh yeah.
And then Sarah calls on the phone.
And then after that, I wrote Jill dancing. Lol. Gary running. Lol.
Scott looks like
Scott's like, I'm gonna go to beer and talk to the sheriff. And when he leaves, he sees some weirdo in the pantyhose head. And he stops his car and starts chasing him. And he chases him to the barn. And as soon as he opens the barn door, I thought it was a cool effect. He gets hit in the face with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
Then we see Jill dancing ballet with a gratuitous crotch shot.
So when Gary shows up, though, she goes, "Oh, I thought you were Sarah," and he goes, "Only on the weekends." And I was like, "What?"
Yeah, that was funny.
What is that? Okay.
So then Merv scares them in the window again because these boys really like to peep. But
and then he goes inside. He still flies. Okay.
Gary goes in and drags him in. I guess he's wanting an apology for Jill or something because Jill's freaking out about Merv, and Merv just starts kind of talking crazy.
He says he can still fly.
And then Sarah shows up, and they're all just like, "There's nothing weird happening here." And she says to Merv, "If I know we were dressing up, I could have worn my gorilla suit," which I thought was funny.
Yeah, Gary could have been Sarah.
But she leaves
Sarah
and she's locked. So she's locked out of her car. So her car is not going to move. She's locked out of her car, and there's some mean archer with pantyhose. And hey, that was me. Yeah.
No.
There's a mean archer, and he chases her right to the barn.
It was our editor. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah. It was. She's like in the barn now, and the archer shoots her in the hand with an arrow.
That's a good effect.
And then he pulls the arrow out and rips her shirt off and drags her.
And then it gets rough.
And ties her up by the feet like the pig again. And
okay, this is what. Okay, I wrote here. One, she says something before she leaves. Sarah says something about how she sees a picture of Scott. And she says he looks like Robert Redford. Okay, he
Yeah.
does. He does not.
Nothing like
Robert
Robert
Redford
Redford.
is one of the hottest men that's ever lived.
Scott's
and-
not bad looking.
No, he's not. But it's Robert Redford.
But she
Okay.
says she's going to steal that bill.
But also,
Sundance Kid.
so okay, let me get this straight. Jill can hear a fucking swing.
Yeah.
From the inside her house,
Yeah.
she can hear a swing, but she cannot hear her best friend screaming at the top of her fucking lungs.
Yeah.
Okay,
I have a note
alright.
about that as well.
And I was like, why would we think Merv was a killer at this point?
Well, there's no way that Merv's the killer.
I know. Why would we ever think that? It's such a bad whodunit. He's a really bad red herring because it's clearly not him. Because they show the guy with the stocking on his
He's
head way too
blonde.
many times, and it's not fucking Merv.
But so Sarah is now in the barn, hoisted up, and he cuts off her jeans and slices her throat.
The throat slit is good.
The throat slit's good, and the
and I
bloody
liked how
hay.
it
There's
kept it kept pouring into the hay.
Dripping.
Yeah.
So
Tiny Tim's praying after that.
Jill's back in bed, and yeah, she never heard any of these fucking screams. Tiny Tim's praying, and they kind of have a together cry. It goes back and forth. Merv starts crying over his mother's Bible, and Jill is crying over a picture of her parents.
Yeah.
So Scott, and we find out, we cut back to the barn. Scott's still alive and hanging there, while Jill is asleep on the couch. And Scott gets
But
his...
she also has a conversation. She tells Gary. Gary gets upset
she's-
because she showed a picture of Scott to Sarah and not to him.
And Gary has no fucking game.
And then
Well, she's
Jill's like, I've called everyone. I was like, you haven't called
Well,
everyone.
dude,
on Earth.
the intruder comes in again. She's asleep on the couch, looking beautiful.
Sounds like she fell asleep quickly.
And somebody comes in there,
Who's watching?
chloroforms
Who
her.
has chlorophyll?
But he
Or
carries...
chloroform.
She doesn't
It's
talk to him
chlorophyll.
before this.
That's for plants,
The
right?
killer chloroforms her, carries her to the barn, and starts taunting Scott with her, being drugged. And he's like rubbing on her thighs, but then sirens start. So the killer hurries back and takes her back to the couch. And the sheriff, and locks the door. The sheriff pokes around the house, looks in the windows, doesn't see anything, and he just leaves. I don't know why he came there in the
Good
first
police
place.
work.
When did he suck on her titties?
We're not. Yeah.
It comes up.
So
Okay.
Scott gets his throat cut, and this time there's a bucket instead of on the hay.
Oh yeah, that was cool.
The
I
blood
like-
goes in the bucket.
Yeah.
And we see, we cut to Merv. He's looking at a photo of his favorite pig, which it also has his throat
Beulah.
cut.
Beulah. Hog split open Polaroid.
So then Jill wakes up. She's like, oh, I'm hungry. She goes to the fridge and opens the door, and that bucket of Scott's blood falls out.
It's a good fucking
And
fridge
that's when
prank.
Gary's there, and he calms her down, and he like gets into the bath with her, and they have like a shower
a
where
clothed shower
he's
thing,
clothed, but he undresses her and starts washing her.
And then she just goes right back to sleep.
Yeah, I think she's almost asleep in the bathtub. So
And
he
then
carries,
that's
carries her
when
to the,
Gary's on the nip. I was like, hey,
Yeah,
Gary,
that's when he's on the
Gary's
nip.
still
Coming
on
off
the
a
nip.
chlor-
so he
Chloroform
carries
high,
her to
man.
the couch, is pretty asleep, and he's sucking on her titties.
No,
Sucking on her,
water.
Dude.
I mean nursing. He's
Nursing,
not,
yeah.
he is not
This is-
sucking.
It's heavy tit play.
Listen,
No.
I like some tit play,
No,
but
she
this is
has
like
beautiful
weird.
tits, but he...
This was baby
It's like
sucking.
mommy.
This was mommy sucking
Fucking
tits.
Rapey Gary's famous nipple kisses are not cool.
No,
Like,
they're mommy rapey.
Rapey
sucking
Gary's
tits.
famous nipple kisses.
yeah.
Only
They're
here on
gross.
Gag Me With a Knife.
No.
Rapey mommy
Well,
sucking.
so he's sucking on them titties.
Rapey Gary's famous nipple kisses.
He's sucking on her tits, but then he's like, I'm going to cover up with this blanket. And he goes and sits in the
I
rocking
said, oh
chair.
God, now he's naked.
Well, he goes and sits in the rocking
I
chair.
said, Gary,
I wrote, God damn it,
wrote-
Gary, get dressed.
I wrote, Gary, don't be a full-blown rapist.
No, so he
Dude.
sits there, and you can see he's like really
Like full-blown.
I'm gonna rape her.
I
I
was
guess.
like, I was like,
So
he
he
already
takes off
sucked on
his
her
shirt.
tits, so I was like, don't be a full-blown rapist.
He takes off his shirt, and then we see his naked buttocks in front of the couch.
Yeah.
And he lays down, starts kissing her, and she says, "Scott."
Yeah, she wakes up because she
She's
thinks
way
it's
too
Scott
cool
because,
about this,
She's
dude.
like, Scott.
Oh
he-
yeah, waking up with his dick inside of her, and it's
I
not
I don't know if
Scott.
it got there
I
yet.
think it
but
did.
It
I
was
think
pretty
it did.
bad. Like,
He apologizes, and we
Yeah,
cut.
well, that
we-
makes it okay.
We cut to Mervo, and he's
guess.
looking even crazier than normal. And then we cut to Gary crying in the barn. So I guess she told him to fuck off.
But no, she tells him when he's doing that, she's like, I'm in love with someone else now.
Yeah.
I know, Jill, I love you
like
too.
a
I was
brother.
like, I go, why is
She
this
says, "I love you like a
incident
brother."
being brushed off? Because he was clearly raping her. But okay.
He was about to.
So we finally see Mervo without the makeup.
Doesn't make it
He's
any
taking the
better.
makeup
He shows
off.
up at Jill's again.
And then Gary,
scares her
Gary's in the
again.
barn crying, and crazy as hell.
So Mervo takes her to see all these photos and reads about this.
He's trying to tell her stuff, but he's not
really
good
not
with
socially
words.
great. So he gives her the letter about the mother wrote
About the suicide
note.
yes.
Yeah. But Gary's lurking around, and he even shows her.
I just wrote Polaroids.
Mervo
Gary.
shows. Yeah, Mervo shows Jill the Polaroids, and
Then plays tiptoe through the tulips, and she's like, "Yeah, it's Gary."
Hey, I have a question.
This is where
so
Gary busts in.
What is okay?
While Mervo is about to say it, I think.
No, this part I didn't catch. He
Because
says
Jill
that,
at this point still
he
thinks
says
it's
that
Merv.
Gary did something. What did Gary do so people would feel sorry
Gary
for him
told
and they
people
wouldn't
that-
take Merv away?
They they tried to make it look like a murder. That's why they keep talking about unsolved crimes, is because Gary made their suicide. They were dead, and he made it look like a murder scene.
I thought he murdered them and he made it look like a suicide.
They committed suicide. He made it look like a murder so they would get more sympathy.
And they wouldn't take Merv away?
Exactly.
Why would they not take Merv away?
I don't know.
Anyway.
Because Merv would. Gary is pissed because
They
he
get in a
knows that
fight.
Merv. Yeah, Jill does not know now, right at this point, that Gary is the killer. But Gary knows that Merv was trying to tell on him. So Gary starts choking Merv.
Which at this point he still could have, just like in The Dorm That Dripped Blood, at any moment that the creep Merv in this movie could have just been like, he's the killer.
Yeah.
He's the killer.
But he's a clown. He's
It doesn't
Tiny Tim.
matter.
No, he's mentally disturbed, or he would. He's trying.
Whatever.
But Merv grabs some scissors while Gary's choking him, and Jill's like, "Oh, here's a gun," and she shoots Merv on purpose. And this is where
In the
she sees
leg,
that
I think.
she's like, "Oh," but Gary doesn't even care that Merv is dead. He's like, this is where Gary confesses basically everything.
It took Jill way too long to figure this caper out.
And Jill, she kind of plays along at first. She really sucks at playing along because she's playing
really
along, starts running. She runs home and gets home. And that's when we some more good shadow work. There's like somebody with a knife, and then you can see their shadow. It's Gary. Guess what? She runs to the barn, and that's where she sees all the other corpses.
They're all hung up upside down like pigs.
And Gary's like, check it out.
Yeah. He's like, look at my...
And again, she plays along. She's like, yeah, I love you, we'll elope, blah, blah, blah. But then does it really badly again and tries to run again.
And Gary's like, no.
And he tackles her, and she ends up
The last time you got away, you went to college.
Well, yeah.
She's they're still in the barn. She ends up stabbing him with some kind of hay fork.
It's like a sickle.
sickle.
I wrote Jill's making things difficult. Typical woman.
And so then there's
a tedious chase.
Tedious chase, exactly. And she ends
Knife
up
tree
in,
smile.
she-
I don't know what that means.
She ends up in some kind of
I wrote that down though.
weird hay tower where there's a pig
I think it's called a
hung
silo.
up. She falls and looks up, and there's like, it looks cool. There's all this pig
It is
blood
a
dripping on
silo.
her. Yeah, they end up in a
It
silo.
is.
It's a silo.
But there's a
Some
pig
hay
hung up
tower.
there, bleeding on
Green
her.
tower.
Some kind of hay tower.
Yeah. What are those things?
And
Like rockets?
Oh,
this
God.
scene and the scene in the barn, when she's playing along, Gary's kind of explaining everything that we were wondering. Explication.
Why did I
scenes.
write knife tree smile?
I have no idea. But Gary's like talking to
That's
himself
your new
like,
concept album.
he's like, yeah, we don't need her
Metal
to
band.
survive.
Well, when she gets the pig's blood on Jill, when Jill gets the pig's blood on her, I say dirty and disgusting, so that makes sense. Also-
you were just writing down feelings.
Also, at this point, I thought Gary looked a lot like one, aka Vecna,
I
from
thought
the
he
new
looked like.
season
I thought he
of,
looked like Blood Rage.
No, from the kinda, yeah, but from the new season of Stranger
Yeah,
Things,
yeah.
the guy that plays Vecna, like when he's like the
he's dreamy.
when he's the attendant, he kind of looked like
So he
him.
could have killed her right here, but instead he just knocks her out and takes her back to the barn, because you got to kill everybody in the barn, I guess. And he gets her trussed up, and What? No. She's still standing. He's about to cut her throat when Mervo shows up and saves the day and shoots him with a shotgun.
Of course, man. Tiny Tim always saves the day.
He's been shot, but
He's been shot, but just like not mortally at this point. Maybe he'll bleed out. But they leave the barn. He's telling her everything's going to be okay. And we see Gary's eyes open. And there's the credits.
Yeah, so we don't know if he's dead or
that
not.
fucking goddamn trope is so stupid.
Yeah.
It's good the first couple times you see
Well,
it.
How many?
The kill count for this movie is not high enough to have that in it, in my opinion. So in the kill count, we're not going to talk about Mr. and Mrs. Dickinson who hanged themselves before the movie. So number 1 and 2, which are basically like, I guess Miss Robinson, Jill's mom, is killed much later, but we don't really see when. But Mr. Robinson is killed pretty early in the movie. He's hanged upside down. His throat is slit by Gary. The second one is Mrs. Robinson. At some point, is hanged upside down. Her throat is slit by Gary. 48 minutes. Sarah Anderson is shot with a recurve bow, hanged upside down, and throat is slit by Gary. Fifth death is Scott Redson. He's beaten with a baseball bat, hanged upside down. His throat is slit by Gary. I think that's 10. Yeah, it's 58 minutes. That's 10 minutes later after Sarah. Then 25 minutes later, Gary Dickinson is maybe dead. Shot in the shoulder by Marvelous Mervo. Maybe not dead. So there's...
I'm sorry, Gary.
The kill count is either 4 or 5, depending on if you think that Gary lived. So there's not a whole lot of trivia, but... Okay, so
let's go into the life and times of Tiny Tim.
Let's not. So the director found Tiny Tim because at a personal appearance at a beer carnival dressed as a clown, and he wore his own clown suit for the movie.
Of course he did.
It was filmed in one day and night.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn.
So
that's a feat.
That's impressive.
I've seen way worse movies.
Oh, me too. Yeah, this movie is like really good for that. So at the auction, it was a real auctioneer and farmers featured in the auction scene. Peter Krause, who played Scott, the boyfriend, he refused to take his jeans off for the love scene with Jill.
Lame.
Yeah. The script was written in 3 weeks. Not hard. You can see that. And then there is an online petition trying to find where Itonia Salchek, who plays Jill.
God, I love you.
No one knows what's happened to her. There's an online petition trying to find her. So when I looked at how much this movie made, because it did have a limited release theatrically, I couldn't find the budget, but the box office said 70%. So I don't know. I don't know what that. All I could find was 70%.
It couldn't cost that.
I'm
much.
assuming that meant 70% of the budget.
That's bad.
So yeah. What do you rate this, Nick?
Oh wait,
wait. Do you have
Bill
do you have trivia?
Rebane, the director? I think he did really well, especially considering this was a 24-hour shoot. But in '65, he directed Monster A Go-Go. In '74, Invasion from Inner Earth, Giant Spider Invasion, Alpha Incident, Capture a Bigfoot. Like, he had some genre chops, which I think really make this movie better than it could have
Alex Trebek would have called it genre. Or however he says, he goes John.
Jean.
I hate him. I mean, he's dead now, but I hate how he would say things. What do you give this?
I rated it? I rated it a 2.5.
Me too.
Like, I realized that this is a run-of-the-mill slasher, but the thing is, I love Tiny Tim.
Yeah,
I think I'm a big fan of his music career, and on top of that, I think it's all awesome, and I think him being in this movie made it. If he wasn't in this movie,
this movie would have sucked cock.
Yeah. Do you remember that guy, the guitar playing guy from Home Sweet Home? What was his name? Mistake. He's like, if Mistake was a good character.
Yeah.
It's Marvelous Mervo.
It's Mervo, yeah.
That's weird we're doing this, or talking about this so close
But Tiny
together.
Tim was like the real deal. Like, he actually was like a musician, like that news.
Yeah, and you can watch him die on stage.
And also his first
he died
album,
on stage.
He had a heart attack that killed him on stage.
Yeah, he did. And his first album, God Bless Tiny Tim, is amazing. His third album, For All My Little Friends, a children's album, is
Damn,
awesome.
you really do like Tiny Tim.
I fucking love that stuff. I think Tiny Tim fucking rules. Dude, his cover of "You Got Me, Babe" by Sonny and Cher is fucking amazing. Yeah. Tiptoe through the tulips.
I also give it a 2.5. I can't with good
conscience.
Yeah, give it 3. I feel like it's a little below average.
I'm going 3. I'm going where
I'm
you
surprised you're not
wouldn't dare
going
to
4
go.
because you want
let's
so
call
bad.
it 3 1/4 because I think that Antonia
3.25?
Solchek is one of the most beautiful women on earth. Is she a great actress? No. But like Tiny Tim's
She's
great.
very average.
Gary's
looking.
good. Like it's fun. No, 3.25. I thought this one was Christy. Fuck yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
So, 3.2K over there, huh?
it was a
Thank you for
for
making
having
us
it,
watch
but
this
no,
movie.
it was a good fan request. I really enjoyed it.
And knowing that he did in 24 hours.
I've seen it before, and Blood Harvest is
I saw it a long time ago, but I hadn't seen it. I didn't remember
This is
it,
the
so.
Citizen Kane of a one-day shoot.
Yeah,
I didn't know that happened. That's fucking crazy.
Well, it was on IMDb, so who knows if it's true? But I mean, I hope it is. So
2 days to shoot this? That's
a day
crazy.
and a night.
A day and a
I
night.
mean, mind you, the set is just the house, but we've
it's
seen
2
that before.
houses and a barn and an auction. I think they had to film an auction. So stay gagged on tiptoeing through the tulips.
Stay gagged on. Good night, ladies.
Stay gagged on.
Good night.
Stay gagged on chloroform
Time
rags.
for
Yeah,
us to
they use them
say
a lot.
Yeah.
goodbye.
Stay gagged on nudie Polaroids.
Stay gagged on weird titty nursing sucking mommy.
Yes, stay
Mommy
gagged on
milk.
Jill's nipples. Stay gagged on buckets of blood falling out of the fridge. That was fucking gnarly. Stay gagged on hanged scarecrows.
Ladies, good night. Wah, wah, wah.
Stay gagged on all of our social media, Instagram, TikTok. Gag Me With a Knife podcast. Go to our website, gagmewithaknifepodcast.com to buy our merch. Become a Patreon for member shout-outs, early access to episodes, bonus exclusive episodes. We have one that just came out about our favorite horror soundtracks. We have another one about our favorite final girls and our most unpopular horror opinions that you can listen to only on Patreon. And you can request for us to do an episode for you, like this
Any
one,
horror movie.
like Christy did, like Blood Harvest, or like we did for
American Mary.
for Brian from Paper Cuts, American Mary. Yeah.
Right.
So
and
Katie Mosley.
and the
Katie Mosley,
the
by
one
the
with
way.
the porn star.
Oh yeah, that was our first one. Travis.
Travis.
Night to Dismember.
Night to Dismember.
Travis
That's
is
it.
a porn star?
No, he asked us to do a Night to Dismember.
Travis,
That had
become a
Samantha
porn
Fo-
star.
We've
We wanna
almost
see
got
you.
enough Patreon members to do the.
We know what you're
Yeah, we're gonna have a
Swag
prize
give.
drawing.
No,
and
seriously,
we
man.
get 2
Like,
more.
show us what you got on a porno.
So
Or send it to Mike.
yeah, stay gagged. Listen to Tiny Tim. It's gonna be coming up in a second, and we'll see you next time.
Mervo.
They're on a regular Wednesday. Actually, our next episode coming out is our Halloween retrospective. So, Spooky Ookie is almost over.
Goodbye.
Showers away, and if I kiss you in the garden, in the moonlight, will you pardon me and tiptoe through the